as this is continuing breaking news here on Worldview Tube. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
You are watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Massive human trafficking. It's a record 288 people arrested.
They're not reporting the real numbers.
The numbers are segmented and they are fictitious.
I started my career in 1997 in the United States Border Patrol. It was one of the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I made my bones and my reputation on that border. I believe what is happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
That then the White House has to condemn this immediately and pull all support and tell Lindsey Graham, come home, or we're going to put you under arrest when you come home. You're stirring it up. Lindsey Graham's over there saying, hey, forget Trump. I got the House and the Senate. We're gonna pass him. You're going to see something in a couple of days. Remember that? He's stirring it up over there. He's telling me they got backing. If they did not give us a heads up on this, all full stop, no minerals deal, walk away from all of it. They're irresponsible. They're dragging us into a kinetic third world war. As we said, we're getting dragged in now. Or the deep state is driving us in there. Either of these are not good. Tulsi Gabbard's got to let us know. Did anyone in Intel at all have anything to do with this? Did anybody have a heads up? Did anybody? And if not, who the hell's running the Ukraine desk? Who's running the Russia desk? Same thing with Ratcliffe. This is why Cash and Bongino and Pam Bondi, you got to clear out the deep state. This is a ticking time bomb. And you see what they're going to get us into. Because now inexorably we're being drawn into this. If we didn't know about it, the president, to me, has got to condemn it and got to say we're not going to give any more support because these people cannot be trusted. You're supposed to be in Turkey today talking peace, not 3,000 miles into Russia blowing up their strategic bombers. But if the kinetic part of the Third World War continues on, it will escalate. And once you get escalation in a situation like this, particularly on the Eurasian landmass, as two major conflicts in the 20th century, World War I and World War II, they will turn into wars of annihilation. Okay? They do, in vengeance. And we are heading to a very dark place, and we're heading to a very dark place very quickly.
They're telling us that they were put in place 18 months ago. So 18 months ago is in the beginning of, or the midst of, what I guess you could call the Autopen administration. So who was it on the American side that either gave the green light to this or provided the initial intelligence targeting? And is it possible then that these targets were even guided by American targeteers at some point? We know about this base, Wiesbaden, Germany, the U.S. Army garrison, where they have, and the New York Times has reported this, Steve, as you just said, they have this gymnasium that's set up, and you've got the Ukrainian officials right there with NATO forces, which means, guess what? Us, the Americans, sitting right there providing targeting. Was a target package at any point given to the Ukrainians from Americans for this? And if such, do the Russians take that as an act of war from the United States on Russia proper?
Welcome to Truth with J.J. Carrell. Listen, we are on the precipice of World War III. Steve Bannon is speaking absolutely the truth. That's not hyperbole. Let's stop. I always like to do this. I always like to look at it from the quote adversary's point of view. My competition, the person I'm going against. So let's flip the script. Let's take this whole Ukraine and Russia thing and just put it to a side. What if it was a battle between China and America? And let's say the United Nations – wanted to have China have the ability to be on our border. So China moves their military and they get on in Juarez and Tijuana, and they bring all of their artillery, their armies, their subs and aircraft carriers are right off the border there where I used to work in Imperial Beach. And then the Chinese start firing missiles and bombs into San Diego proper, El Paso, Tucson. And then they get bolder because America won't respond. And the UN keeps telling us, behave, don't you dare retaliate. This will all be okay. We'll talk peace. In fact, we're going to talk peace next week. And while we're all gearing up for peace, China decides, you know what? Let's bomb a little deeper. Let's start bombing Oklahoma, Nevada. You know what? Let's go ahead for Nebraska. How about Illinois? Well, let's just test it. And the whole time the world's telling us, don't you retaliate. Don't you retaliate. I know China is on your doorstep. I know they're building biolabs there. I know they're bombing and killing Americans. I understand that. Just stand down. Don't you retaliate. Now, the moment China started to move their personnel, their technology, their armaments, their tanks, their bombs into Tijuana, into Juarez, we would be in a full-scale war, and you know it. We would be bombing the hell out of them all day and all night and then going to attack mainland China. Now, you tell me the difference between what I just stated and the Russia-Ukraine. Go ahead. The UN goes, NATO, and we're going to bring Ukraine into NATO. We're going to use in a proxy war, we have American soldiers there. It's not even, can't deny it anymore. It's true. American weaponry, soldiers and weapons from Europe are there on the border of Russia, where we made a deal with them saying we would never, ever do this. And then you are Putin, and you are watching the lies as Western European nations' armaments and the United States armaments are landing and killing Russians. And then when we tell them, you must stand down, Russia, we're going to talk peace, and they agree. And during this peaceful time, United States Senators Lindsey, don't ask, don't tell Graham, and Vietnam soldier Blumenthal go to Ukraine, and within 24 to 48 hours later, they have what they're describing as Russia's Pearl Harbor. And then we are all going to sit here and act as if that man, Vladimir Putin, is going to stand down? We talk about Donald Trump being this alpha male. Ronald Reagan was the same. Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump share one quality. They share quite a few if you dug deep, but one quality that they share that frightens the world is everyone thinks they're a little bit off center, and that they will follow through with destruction if they have to. You could put that type of mentality and place that characteristic squarely on Putin as well. He has to feel as if he has no other choice but to come out swinging and go for broke. He has to believe that Donald Trump has double-crossed him because he's watching Lindsey Graham and Skeletor, Vietnam, Blumenthal fly into Ukraine, and then they destroy their aircraft. General Flynn came out and said something I did not know, because the very first thing was this was the nuclear planes, if you will, that Russia had. And people immediately began, well, that's so stupid. They left them out on their runways. Look how stupid the Russian army is, or military. And General Flynn said, no, that is the agreement between nations, that they put their jets that carry their nuclear armaments on the tarmac for everyone to see. So if there's ever any movement, they're easily tracked, so we can keep track on each country. Knowing that, Ukraine abused that and went and blew them up. And America will not talk about this. The American media will not discuss this. This is about 3 years ago. Yeah, right. Yeah, about 3 years ago. I guess the war has been going on for about a year. And just, you know, sometimes you're going through your daily life, and I think I was cutting my grass or something. And I was like, it just hit me. Why haven't I seen anything about this war from the other perspective? Meaning there hasn't been any interviews of Putin, no interviews of their equivalent of Secretary of State or their Defense Department. Nobody's speaking. We don't hear. It's dead silence in Russia. That can't be true. So I start digging, and I have to dig and dig and dig and dig. And sure enough, there's tons of chatter from Putin, tons of statement from their Secretary of State, their State Department, their Attorney General, anything you can imagine that's equivalent to America in our hierarchy. And they're talking about nuclear war. And I remember thinking, holy mother of God, why is that not being reported? They being Russia, feel as if NATO, United Nations, Europe, and America all are coming to our border to fight us. Their response is we have to fight them with nuclear war. And no one says anything. Donald Trump said, I will have this war ended within 24 hours. It's been 5 months. Once again, I don't believe Donald Trump knew or completely understood the depth of treason within our government. Because in this war, we're not talking about hundreds of millions. We're not even talking about several hundred billion. We're talking well over $1 trillion getting sucked into a war, pushed all the way back and around into the pockets of our politicians and the war machine. Let's take just a few videos I put together that Caleb's going to show. What is Russia's response? Well, let's watch.
Ебать, это 4-я нахуй! 5-я, блядь! Тупо в завод Артема! Ебать! Шестую слышу! Охуеть! Пизда нахуй! Не, нормально. Давай.
That's their response. It's going to get worse. Can you pull up, Caleb, can you pull up General Flynn's post that I have? I'm going to read straight off it because this is insider knowledge. This is a man that's obviously been there, done it, knows exactly what he's talking about. I'm just going to read this post. I know I have it up there and it's hard to see, but I'm going to read it. It's about a couple paragraphs, but it's worth it, right? This is General Flynn. He posted this 2 days ago, yesterday maybe. His words, quote, "So it appears Zelensky gave the go-ahead to attack parked Russian nuclear-capable bombers without informing the real Donald Trump. If that is true, our president was not consulted nor informed. This isn't simply a breach of protocol. It's a geopolitical insult and a warning sign. If Ukraine is willing to conduct strikes with strategic consequences without notifying the White House, we are no longer allies with the coordinated issues. We are now co-belligerents flying blind." That is 100% true. I'm going to follow up, still continue to quote. Also, given Senator warmonger Lindsey Graham and Senator Denang Dick Blumenthal's recent visit, this attack could appear as though if it was sanctioned. I pray the Russians have better intelligence than that. He goes on. I'm going to go forward. FYI, those bombers that were hit, this is what we talked about earlier, have to be, and he has half in capitalization, have to be out in full view due to nuclear treaty obligations. Zelensky took advantage of that. For instance, they appear to have hidden the drones in containers and were driven on trucks near the air base. He follows up with this. Russia will respond. Action, reaction, counteraction. Those are the shifting tides of warfare. This wasn't a bold action. It was brash. Ukraine's short-term win could be a long-term loss. He's correct. General Flynn is absolutely correct. Steve Bannon's absolutely correct. Posobiec. People that are inside the belly that are of the beast that are coming out, they are all correct. We are going to get sucked into a World War III. Because what you don't know, or a lot of us just can't fathom, is our government has tied themselves to treaties to other countries. Basically, if anybody goes to war, then we are pulled into it. Lindsey Graham has a lot of questions to answer. Lindsey Graham, never been married. Lindsey Graham, that I'm aware of, has no sons. So he has no skin in the game. He has no probability of losing someone that he loves and cherishes, that carries his bloodline. So they just offer him up. Our founding fathers, those intellectual giants, told us ad nauseum, wrote about it, discussed it constantly, that we should never be in foreign entanglements because we will be sucked into, drawn into a war that we should never be in. Never. I could take the map of Russia, Europe, Ukraine, and I could even give a few countries and draw their names in there and still go to 99% of Americans. And 99% of Americans out of 100 would not be able to tell you where Ukraine is. I'll give you a great example. My son is 13, very intelligent young man. He didn't know where Vietnam was. He just didn't know. And I told him, don't worry, son, because we were watching a war about Vietnam. I said, don't worry, son. 99% of Americans have no idea where Vietnam is on the map. And then his question was, then, Dad, why did we go there and fight a war and lose those 50,000 men? Great question, son. That is a question everyone refuses to answer. The only response I ever got was, well, we had to fight communism there so it didn't come over here. So those people in Vietnam had a gigantic navy with nuclear subs, fierce battleships and aircraft carriers? No. They worked in rice paddies. They were basically a third world nation that we sent our men to die in for nothing. For nothing. And here we go again, doing the same damn thing. We're in a war. I say that all the time. We are in a war for the soul of America. I played a video last week of Graham Allen talking about the war. And he said it. He said it even better than I did. He said, we're actually in a battle. We won a battle that put us in a war. He's right. We haven't won the war because Donald Trump's in this. It's just started. We just got into it. How do you go and fight a war? How do you fight daily life? It's hard. And the one way to be prepared is to be physically healthy. You can't fight if you're sick. You can't fight if you have ailments. You can't fight if you have inflammation that's coursing through your body, causing all these diseases and ailments. So what do? You use Bella Grace. They have an elixir that I use. It just squeeze it in my mouth. It's like a little package. It fits. If I turn it sideways, you can't even see it. Squeeze like an apple juice. The apple juice you give your kids, something even smaller. Squeeze in your mouth. It attacks the inflammation. It helps your digestive system and your immune system, and you are now becoming healthy. And then you are ready to fight. ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. If you could play this, Caleb, just play the commercial. I appreciate it.
As a practitioner with a very large practice, at the very end of the day, I tended to be a little bit worn out. I wasn't covering from taking care of patients. In January, before we pre-launched the company, I was one of the very first people to get the 15-day samples. And right away, I was connected to the Bella Grace Collagen Elixir. Just an overall feeling of wellness, but also a little more energy. I recovered in my workouts, sleeping just more soundly, and then waking up the next day ready to take it on. For me, it was the power of three: the cat's claw, the astaxanthin, and of course, the best, most studied Verisol collagen on the market today.
ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. ShopBellaGrace.com. I take the Elixir Challenge. They have every other kind of product you can imagine, and I believe in it, and I use it. One thing that is happening across the globe is nationalism. The absolute 180 degrees from globalism. Nationalism has always, or has for quite a while, been given it's synonymous with Nazis, with you're a xenophobe, isolationist. Nationalism actually is great. Someone sent me and I got to cut up this sermon. It's a pastor down in Texas gave a sermon on the importance of borders and nationalism and societal norms and cultural norms, and how diversity is not a strength, and how we've been lied to. And he tied it all biblically to having a nationalistic view of your country. And it was refreshing, actually, to hear anyone that is, quote, a man of God speaking the truth biblically about the need for borders, language, culture, norms from a religious man. And nationalism is not bad. Nationalism is great. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it okay for Mexico to want their country to remain Mexican? They are highly, highly racist people in Mexico. They believe that their race is clean, that they don't want it mixed. They don't want Guatemalans and Hondurans and El Salvadorians and, God forbid, Haitians, Venezuelans. Nope. Why is it okay for them to want that and wave their flag? Why does Japan get to keep their population in the high 90s percentile Japanese DNA? What about China, Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, Lebanon? Why is it okay for them? And yet our race, our demographics, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, why is that allowed to be turned up and jumbled up into be 180, 190 nationalities and think that we're going to be okay? Why do you think every other nation demands their demographics stay the same? The only group of countries that are committing suicide is the Europeans and the Western nations, Canada and America. Two nations in Europe refuse to follow along. The first one's Poland. Poland just elected basically a Trump nationalist. And I know he's going to be speaking Polish, so I need you to read the words. But listen to what this man's saying and tell me what is wrong with it. What is wrong with keeping Poland a majority, a super majority Polish descendants and demographics? There's nothing wrong. I don't care if Poland was made up of Polish blacks, and that's what Polish citizens look like. That's their skin color, was black. I'd be like, hell yeah, I think it's great. Why not? Why would you love Poland? That's the country you're going to go to war in and die for? That's the country you live in and work, that you want it to be great? Why would I do anything to harm that? So now Poland is white. So what's wrong with them keeping Poland white? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nigeria gets to remain black, and I applaud it. Great. Nigeria is a black country. Fine. Why is it the white nations have to take in everyone and destroy their countries? Why is our nations considered inferior in terms of us wanting to keep history, keep the way that our demographics are aligned? Why is that wrong? Why does our cultures and our societal norms come secondary to third world nations that want to change us? Hell, I don't care. It could be a first world nation. It could be Germans coming in, and Germans demand that we speak Germany, fly the German flag, have the get rid of football, bring in their stupid bouncing the ball 1-0 score. That's the game of our nation. No, I don't want the Germans here bringing in German cultures. No. I don't mind the Germans coming here legally, become U.S. citizens, and get into our cultural norms. Yep, have no problem with that. Ask yourself why. Why does every other nation get to, outside the Western nations, get to keep their demographics the same, demand their cultures stay the same, demand their cultural norms and societal norms stay the same, and every Western nation has to destroy itself because our cultures are not good? Because the populace, the globalists, and everyone that hates nationalism hates what we believe in. And they want a hodgepodge, so there's chaos and destruction. Listen to this man speak about Poland. It's refreshing.
Migrantów. Tak, jest Polską bez nielegalnych migrantów. Jest Polską, w której zamiast ośrodków integracji są ośrodki deportacji dla tych, którzy chcą zniszczyć nasze bezpieczeństwo.
Here is Poland. That's the new president, Naraki. What's wrong with that? Is anything wrong with that? And is anything wrong with having pride in your nation? Why don't we try that in America? Why don't we try to believe that the reason why we're great was not the diversity of immigrants or the slaves or any of that other crap that we've been pushed down our throat for decades, for 100 years. No, it's because people of diverse backgrounds came to America with the sole goal to become Americans. Shed their diversity, shed their flags and their cultures and their norms, and became Americans because they wanted the American dream that I believe does not exist anymore, but they came here for that. And they became Americans. That's why America works. It doesn't work because we have diversity. It's because the people that come here strip themselves of their past and they take on the cultural, social norms of America. That no longer exist. We bring in 50 million illegal aliens. We allow them to fly their flags, have their cultural norms, have the same language, have everything as antithetical to America, and then we are told not only do we have to sit there and take it, but we have to applaud it. I won't. What is another country in Europe that refuses to bend a knee? Well, that's Hungary and the great Orban. Here is a picture, or excuse me, a video of Hungary. What do you see? Or maybe what do you not see? Well, you know what you don't see? You don't see people on fire. You don't see shanty towns on the bridge. You don't see a lot of diversity, do you? No. Because Hungary, like Poland, refuses to allow the infestation of their country of millions of Middle Eastern and continent of Africa, military age males. They refuse. So their women could sit there with their midriff shirts on, playing ping pong, getting some sun, beautiful day, and they don't worry about being raped. They don't worry about marauding groups of savages destroying their country. But do you know who allows them to come in and destroy their country? Let's start with France. This next video happened this weekend, and this was in front of these savages had just come down, climbed off of the Joan of Arc, Marie Antoinette, and Napoleon statues. And let's look at these young men. These wonderful young men. They're just misunderstood. And see if there's anything French about any of them. Go ahead and play this, please. Not much. Not much, my friends. Not much. Diversity is your strength. France, diversity is your strength. Trust me. Remember, we've changed our complete immigration system because of the statue you sent us, the Statue of Liberty. Give us your mentally retarded. Give us your savages. Give us all your tired and hungry and uneducated, illiterate peasants. Give us all your world's troubles. People actually in America believe that the Statue of Liberty is the immigration law. But thank you, France. Don't worry. It's all going to be just fine. Diversity is your strength. Remember that. Remember when those men kick in your door and start raping your beautiful wives and your daughters and your boys? Because if they're young enough, it's okay in that religion. Enjoy it. Diversity is your strength. You know what else is a strength, France? Is grown men or little young boys being molested by their school teachers like your president was and marry them, and that woman that you say is your wife is actually a dude. And everyone can see it. This is how sick the world is. Let's talk about another place that has allowed the anti-nationalism to dominate their country. And look, I'm not talking like this way about England and about France and about Ireland, and I'm pointing at them like they're bad. I'm showing you, America, what is about to happen in America. Wake up. Don't think that we're somehow more advanced than these idiots. No, we're as dumb as they are. In fact, we're worse. The numbers from France, Ireland, and Germany and England, UK, they're dwarfed compared to what we've brought into our country. Dwarfed. United Kingdom's gone. That nation does not even exist. They're walking dead. They're like Springfield, Ohio. Springfield, Ohio, with all their voodoo Haitians, they're gone. They don't know it yet, but Springfield, Ohio is dead. It's gone. It's over with. Same thing, UK. Do you know the top 10 cities in UK have Muslim mayors? It's over with. They've lost. Who's going to fight? Who's going to fight for United Kingdom? They just put a man in jail for burning the Quran. They put people in jail for bad memes, for social media posts. Who's going to fight the savages? I'm going to show you one. This is a hotel. This is a hotel full of boat people. People just came across the Mediterranean, dumped into the UK, and everyone just said, it's okay. They'll blend in. They'll blend in. Diversity is our strength. Keep saying that loud. Diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength, and it's all going to be okay. Click our heels together and end up in Topeka, Kansas, and everything's going to be all right. Let's look at some third world savages that are taking over a hotel and a town in UK.
احنا ندافع عن نفسنا بس والله ما عندنا شغله والله جنبه جاهزين عباس هناك قايد احنا ندافع عن نفسنا يا زول هذه اوروبا يا حبيبي هذه اوروبا if you want to be strong you cannot be strong what the fuck no don't say that again
Diversity is your strength. Diversity is your strength. I got another video from the UK, and it's going to show you why the UK is dead. Because they, the savages from the third world, know that the only obstacle to their domination of Europe and UK specifically is the cowardice of the white man. Watch this savage beat up a white man and watch the white man just take it. A bottle to the head And no one does anything because if he has to, guess what? They're outnumbered. This is a numbers game now. Wake up, America. Wake up. Wake up out of your slumber. You brought in 50 million people in the last couple decades, 30 million in the last 4 years, with a birth rate that is 5 times that of U.S. citizens. 5 times. Where else is this happening? This phenomenon, this absolute travesty? Well, it's Ireland. Watch this Irishman break it down for you about what's going to happen in Ireland within the next 5 to 10 years. And then I want you, the audience, to understand when you're listening to this young man speak about the demographics of Ireland changing overnight, I want you to, in your mind, listen to him as if he's talking about America. Play this, please, Caleb.
This should shock you. Ireland's population has been growing, but just how much has it been? And what does that look like? When I finished this video, how many of you knew of these statistics? Did you hear about it on the radio? Did you hear about it on the TV? Or has it been completely hidden from you? In 2019, the CSO did out a report predicting population growth. They had different scenarios: high migration, high fertility, low migration, low fertility, and everything in between. On their highest one, M1, F1, which is high migration, high fertility, they predicted our population to reach 5.8 million by 2036. That is their highest prediction, and we will reach that within 2 years. Most of the predictions they made for 2036 we have already overtaken 11 years in advance. Our population is growing that much. We have passed their estimates for 2036 and it's only 2025. Here's another thing. How much of that population is Irish? How much is non-Irish? Well, if we do out the figures, only 6% of the population growth is Irish. 94% of that is immigrants. Here's the graph. The blue is non-Irish and the green is Irish. Now, I don't have to tell you, if this trend continues for 5-10 years, Ireland is no longer Irish. You wonder why your GPs are full, why hospital beds are full, why people can't get places in schools, why your house prices are expensive. Well, this is why. We have overtaken their population estimates by over 11 years, and 94% of it is people coming into this country. Only 6% of it is Irish.
America. Absolutely, what's happening there is beginning to explode here in America. Listen to Donald Trump talk about Paris and England.
You've seen what happened when Europe opened their doors to jihad. Look at Paris. Look at London. They're no longer recognizable. And I'm going to get myself into a lot of trouble with the folks in Paris and the folks in London. But you know what? That's the fact. They are no longer recognizable, and we can't let that happen to our country. We have incredible culture, tradition. Nothing wrong with their culture, their tradition. We can't let that happen here, and I'll never let it happen to the United States of America.
I trust and believe in Donald Trump, but I have to state this, and I hope he hears it. Somebody clips this. Sir, it is happening here. We're not deporting enough people. You need to figure out what that mechanism is, that sweet spot of pressure to get them to leave. But it's not working. It's just not. The pressure needs to be put on maximum effort right now. Americans are being murdered and raped at unprecedented levels by illegal aliens every single day. There needs to be a sense of urgency. There needs to be an urgency to be prepared. One of our sponsors that help you get prepared is sat123.com. sat123.com. It is an American company. Shockingly, and this is going to be hard to believe, if you have any kind of customer service issue, any kind, You don't get on the phone and call Bangladesh. You actually get someone here in America that speaks English. Whoa, what a novel idea. What is their specialty? Obviously, the sat phone, the satellite phone. Well, the economy's tight. I don't have $1,000 to get a sat phone. You don't need a $1,000 sat phone because sat123.com gives you a sat phone for free when you get a monthly subscription for less than $100. Be prepared. My son has a bulletproof ballistic shield backpack from Sat123. My wife and I use their Faraday packs to put our phones in at night, or if we're going down the street and we're not going to use our phone in our backpack, we put a Faraday bag. We have a generator. They have everything you need in order to be prepared. It doesn't mean to be prepared for a war and a fight, even though it is, and that's my mentality when I'm thinking about being prepared. But it could be as simple as my wife and my son having a sat phone. And if they get in a car accident, or there's no cell service, or there is bad weather like there is in Kansas and Missouri today, and we're away from each other, that if the cell towers blow down or whatever happens, they have connectability with me, and then I can help them whenever I need to be the dad and the husband and the responsible person to ensure their safety. Go to sat123.com/JJ or on the number on the screen. But be prepared. We just talked about Europe, the insanity. We talked about America. You look at Europe and you go, God, those mayors and those local governments, coupled with their federal governments, are a bunch of morons. We would never act like that. Oh, we wouldn't? Well, I hate to tell you this. Yes, we do. I want you to look at a mayor from the Philadelphia area, in a suburb of Philadelphia. You're going to think that I misplaced a video clip, but I didn't. This is the real mayor, and he's for illegal immigrants. Go ahead and play this, please.
Wilkinsburg Mayor Dante Coleman's posted about it on his Facebook page.
Everyone here is, we're family, we're Wilkinsburg, and we just want to protect each other. We have ordinances that protect everyone, no matter what part of life you're from.
What do you say to people who say you shouldn't be here illegally?
That's how this country started. You got to start, it's all about getting that path to being a resident, and I feel like we need to help them.
See, I just, when I saw that video, I quickly pulled out my old history book from the 6th grade, and he's right. In there in the history book, it says, well, that's how our country was founded. It was founded on illegal immigrants and giving them ability to be a resident. See, Dante's right. Dear God. Honestly. I don't even want to pray to God about that. I don't. Because it's almost as if that community deserves everything they get. They voted in Bob Marley. Our country was founded on illegal aliens because they needed a place to get residence. I want to trump that stupid, retarded person with another person of gross stupidity. And that is Mayor Johnson from the great state of Illinois, and the wonderful city that's bankrupt and crime-ridden, and their schools are failing, and that would be Chicago. Play this, moron.
Not calling the president a terrorist?
No, what I'm saying is trying to hold people hostage and manipulating them to succumb to his will. That is how terrorists behave. We're not going to negotiate with terrorists.
What are your thoughts on having a meeting with the Trump administration to try and, for lack of a better phrase, kiss the ring to be able to stop the federal funds from being held back from the city of Chicago?
Well, I will just say, outside of a 2016, Cubs World Series ring, I'm not kissing a ring, okay? The President of the United States of America has an open invitation to the 5th floor of the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. And I'm going to just be bold here for a second. There's a long history of black political leaders talking to people who may not see us as first class, trying to force your will to break the spirit of working people in order to have a conversation. That's terrorism. We're not going to negotiate with terrorists. We're going to negotiate on behalf of.
That idiot just stated that Donald Trump's a terrorist and he's not going to negotiate with terrorists. Everyone knows that man is a full-on DEI hire. Grotesquely stupid. At least he is not as ugly as Beetlejuice, the former mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I mean, she was horrific to listen to and even worse to look at. The non-binary, transgender, lesbian, asexual Beetlejuice. I just have to look at this moron and listen to his stupid speech. And that moron and his government are under now the scrutiny of the Civil Rights Department of the DOJ. Because he said, I think it's last week, he likes to and only hires black people because black people are more sympathetic and empathetic. And they're basically better than white people, so I don't hire white people. Could you imagine? Pick any stupid mayor that happens to be white, and I'm going to show you a stupid white mayor in 2 seconds, that would say, you know what? I've thought long and hard, and I only hire white people. They're smarter, they work harder, they don't kill each other like blacks do. And you think that man would still have a job? And rightfully so, should be fired. I would call for his firing as well. You can't do that, dude. Just hire the best damn person. I don't care what their skin color is. Just hire the best person, period. The hardest working, most qualified, best person, period. Talking about people that are completely stupid and evil. And this man needs to be put in jail. Because what's happening now, let me preface this, because this gets me really hot when I think about it. ICE officers are having to go around and cover their faces because people are threatening their families and them. I would never wear a mask. Bring it on. You come on my first front door, I will kill you in a second. I will cut your head off. I will put your head on a pike and jam it right there in my front yard for the world to see, that anyone else that comes and tries to hurt my family, that I will kill you with my bare hands. However, most people are not like me. So they have fear. So what did this jackass mayor of Nashville do? Well, he doxed all the ICE officers in Nashville and the surrounding area. Watch this.
Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell is under the microscope following his actions during the crackdown on illegal immigrants by ICE and the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Congressman Andy Ogles says the mayor is interfering with justice, listing several concerns. The biggest, he says, is releasing information of the names of federal immigration officials and some locations of their encounters with emergency services departments like Metro Police.
He can have his woke righteousness, but when somebody gets hurt because he's putting ICE names and locations out on the internet, there could be criminal and civil penalties that ensues.
It's all a part of O'Connell's amended Executive Order 30, posted publicly on the Office of New Americans website. The mayor's spokesperson tells me the data is for transparency and it dates back to the previous mayor John Cooper's administration. But the dates on the interactions go back to July 2024, long after Cooper left office. The mayor's office claims that's because there were no reported interactions with ICE 7 months prior to July. Fox 17 News is working to confirm this with local emergency departments. Mayor Cooper's original order allowed 3 days to report immigration communications. Mayor O'Connell's version requires 1 business day, speeding things up. Earlier this month, we asked Mayor O'Connell if he intends to tip off migrants with the data.
That's really not the intended point. The intended point was for us to have some awareness, and what has happened more recently is a technical update.
Congressman Ogles says the mayor is wrong to do this.
He's putting federal law enforcement and local law enforcement in harm's way,
Which adds to his call for the Homeland and Judiciary committees to investigate the mayor's actions.
Caleb, can you do me a favor? Can you pull that guy up, that mayor at the very beginning, and just show me a picture, the audience, the picture? Yeah, right there. If you can just show that, put it on the screen for a second. Look at this beta male. Look at this man with his skinny little pencil neck, his thinning hairline. Hasn't worked out a day in his life with this pasty white skin. That man could never do what these ICE officers are doing, never do what a police officer is doing, never do anything that I did in law enforcement. He's a gutless bastard. Hiding behind power. How many men over my lifetime have I had to suffer under that could never even carry my tricky bag out to the field? They're so gutless. Look at this piece of trash. And if any ICE officer gets hurt outside of the line of duty, this man needs to pay for it with his own blood. Throw his skinny ass in jail and allow him to be with the savages that he tries to protect. That is the greatest of all retribution. That happened to me. I arrested this wannabe civil rights activist. Threw him in Metropolitan Correction in San Diego. And the jailers told me he cried like a little baby all night long. Why? Because the people that he called me racist for arresting, those savages, he was put in the general population with the savages that he pretended to love. And they went on to threaten his life and scare him into a sobbing baby. That's the same thing. MS-13, 18th Street gangs, all the other savages that are wandering around Nashville. Why don't we take that skinny, pasty-ass white man that's never been in a fight in his life, I'm sure he has got manicured fingernails, and throw his skinny ass in prison with the people that he pretends that he loves, and then let him fend for himself. Boy, oh boy, how fast that man's tune would change. Maybe that is the problem that we have. No, I'm going to retract that. There's no maybe, it's absolute. Prior generations of very hard, strong, determined, God-fearing men gave us these freedoms, gave us this well-being, made us soft, because now we are more enlightened than our fathers and our grandfathers. We know how to raise our children better. We're smarter. We can police better with compassion and understanding and statistics. When truly the reality is, we are lesser men than our fathers and our grandfathers. And when we really look at the root cause, as they like to say, we are guilty of the world we live in today. We own it.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.